welcome to the Courtauld. My name is Martin Cager-Smith and I'm head of the MA Curating the Art Museum. I'm aware that you're all here because you're interested in hearing more about the curating programme. I hope that you have already read what we have on the Courtauld website on the study pages. I believe also that you have already had access to a presentation by Karen Levitt, the head of History of Art. If not, I know the links are there for you. But you're all interested in curating, so welcome. I'm going to talk a little bit between the lines of the information that you've already got. I'm going to show you a sort of schema of the program and really just talk through, and we will gather questions as we go, and we will address those questions at the end. I'm joined by Sadia Wahid from Courtauld Marketing and Takahara from Student Services, who will also speak about the admissions procedure when I've finished talking. Right, let's go. I'm going to call up my presentation here. Just one second. So, MA Curating the Art Museum 2022 to 23. I think the first thing to make clear is that this is a separate programme from the History of Art programme, and it's an entirely separate application procedure, as Taka will explain in a while. The two applications procedures are considered completely separately. It may be you're interested in both programmes, you may be deciding which one to apply for. If you apply for both, that's also fine, and the two processes go on alongside each other.
Sorry, Martin, to interrupt. I don't think the presentation's actually visible. Would you mind sharing that screen?
1 second, sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, it's my fault. One second. Can you see the screen now? And see a wonderful image from a previous year's exhibition project in the Courtauld Gallery. You all have that on your screen, Taka?
Yes.
Great. Okay, I'll carry on. So I head the program. I've done so since it began in 2007, and I teach on the program, and I'm joined in the teaching by colleagues from the art history faculty, by associate lecturers, by conservators in the Institute and gallery staff, as well as professionals in the museum and gallery world, who also input into the whole program. The curating program is designed for those who want a bridge into curating, and most often from art history study, though applicants also come from a variety of other disciplines sometimes, often where there's been a module in art history or some element which has prompted their interest in art history, but not always. But a strong interest in art history is really important. I would also say that the curating is not the only, this program is not the only way in which you can enter the museum and gallery sector. Indeed, colleagues from art history and students from art history can do that as well. But it is a good broad introduction to that sector. It's a 12-month program. It's a 12-month program. It's a full-time program. It can be quite intense. It has multiple deadlines, but that's what curating is, as you will discover if you go on to become a curator yourself. We take up to 12 students per year. So, and the group is taught all together through that period with occasional subgroups for particular exercises. But it is very much, there is a great emphasis on group working. And I firmly believe that students on the program learn as much from their colleagues as from the teachers. It's a broad-based program. It's cross-period, so students come with interests which may range from medieval, Renaissance, through to modern and contemporary. I would say that there's quite a, the balance of each year differs year on year, but I would say there's a majority of students tend to be in the modern and contemporary area. if indeed they want to declare a specialism at this time. But the program is taught very broadly, and it's really important that all students are interested in the full range that the program covers. It's taught on and off site in a variety of teaching methods, from seminars and workshops and lectures through to practical exercises, often involving museums and galleries outside, working with galleries, and also in terms of placement, working directly in galleries. So an emphasis on group working, but also individual working, particularly in writing. I say the remit of the program is very broad, but that doesn't mean that we're trying to make you all into generalists. I think what we're hoping is that you will discover your particular interests, particular areas of interest, and probably your skills during that the broad program. We aim to help you find your direction and your specialism, whatever it is. You hear many voices on this program, both from inside and outside the institution. I would say also that there is a strong practical element to it, but also writing interpretation is extremely important in curating and in the program as a whole. Curating means many things to many people. We're not trying to create one sort of curator. There's no single outcome from this program. And indeed, those who progress from the program go into a real broad range of positions afterwards, as I'll show quite soon as I go through the slides. Let me move on. This is, I'm sorry about the rather putrid colours, but this is a schema of the whole programme, which I hope shows how it unrolls across the 12-month period. You'll see that we are moving this year, or in the year that we're talking about, 22-23, to a semester system. Previously, we have been working to 3 terms in the year. So the 12-month program is divided into 2 semesters, and then with the summer period as well, which makes the full 12 months. If I can just run through the various elements in the program that you see on your screen now, in different colors. I'll go from the top. You'll see in semester 1, there is a block of sessions on history and theory of museums. History is very important. It's not just history for its own sake, but it is talking about how museums evolved, their missions, the way that they have come up to date now. So typically you will be looking at museums in London, from the British Museum to the National Gallery to the V&A, looking at their histories, their missions, and the way that those translate into contemporary practice. At the same time, you will be doing a series on contemporary approaches to the museum, which I run myself, which really address matters of importance in contemporary practice, curating practice, curatorship, the exhibition model, museum display, and current issues within the field. They involve seminars, but they also involve visits or invited participation by curators, artists, and others in the field. We get out a lot, and we talk to many people. The 3rd session in semester 1 is ethics and practice of conservation. This is if you like, a very sharp and short but deep incursion into the field of conservation as it relates to curating. It's taught by a professional conservator who works also with exhibitions, and it just shows the way in which conservation impacts on the curator's concerns and practice. Also at the bottom in semester 1, you see a virtual display exercise. This is an exercise which is held in a museum or gallery outside London, outside the Courtauld in London. This year we're working with Tate Modern and with the National Gallery, in which students in smaller groups work with a curator in that museum to devise devise a display within the existing framework of the museum. They're asked to reconfigure or rethink a particular space using particular works according to a particular exercise. And this is an introduction to what curators do, an introduction to working with works in particular contexts. And it's 4 sessions of 2 hours, culminating in a presentation by students of their plan, their solution to the brief that they've been set. That's most of semester 1. What you then see is a gradual introduction to the placement, which begins later about halfway through the first semester. And placements are individual placements in a range of museums and galleries across London. So students work individually with a mentor in the allocated museum or gallery, 1 or 2 days a week, running from November, December, right through to April or May. They're really important, these placements. They're a kind of backbone to the whole program, and they give you practical experience of a museum or gallery. They give you access to a working curator. So there's a close link between you, and they bring a great range of individual experience back to the group discussions which we have throughout the year. Semester 2 is different. Here you have, and you see at the top of the screen, language and interpretation, a set of a number of sessions with a colleague of mine from the art history faculty, together with a museum professional from a museum learning department, which is looking at the language that's employed in curating everything from the words on the wall to catalogues to audiovisual interpretation. The rhetorics and the language behind interpretation is incredibly important, and these sessions really give you a view of the range of different types of texts which apply to the exhibition, the museum display, or whatever. At the same time, and this is a major feature of the year, you can see at the bottom, you will be working on an exhibition project, a public exhibition project, which begins with a brief set at the end of the first semester and runs through the whole of the second semester and into the summer. So you are working with a particular collection or collections in a particular space, maybe in the gallery, in the Courtauld gallery itself, it may be somewhere else in London. And you're asked to devise an exhibition from that yourself, working as a group, a single exhibition. You devise and develop and organize all aspects of this exhibition with help from the project leader and with input from curators either here or outside. The exhibition actually takes place around June for 4 or 5 weeks. It's a public exhibition which you organize entirely, and you organize events around that. So that takes you through the year, and then you see the block at the top, which is the summer, which is the period from June to September, when you write a 10,000 word dissertation on a subject of your choice. It may be something you're already interested in, it may be something that arises from your experience in your placement, it may be something that comes out of discussions or talk sessions throughout the year. A very broad range of titles, which I'll show you some examples of soon. But the purpose there is to write about something that you particularly are really interested in. It's obviously a big pointer for those of you who may choose to go on at some stage to do a PhD. That is the program as it stands. I'll just show you some more images. These are images of relating to a virtual display a few years ago at the National Gallery, where they were asked to display a particular room to incorporate a very important acquisition, editions Diana and Action. So they were looking at existing displays and ways in which they could reconfigure it. And these are some of the formulations that they came up with. Just gives you an idea of how the virtual display exercise works. Here's a list of institutions across London that we have worked with over the years in relation to placements. These change quite often according to opportunity and circumstance, and we're always adding to this list. These are images from past exhibition projects. This was a project that actually happened in the Courtauld Gallery several years ago called Falling Up, and it involved works from the Arts Council collection. You see here Cornelia Parker's work, suspended installation in the foreground, and works from the Courtauld's own collection. Here's another example, as the title says, it was an exhibition put together of printmaking or expanded definitions of printmaking in contemporary art. You see several images by Richard Long here, and this is in the gallery's own spaces. And another exhibition involving works from the Courtauld's own collection and contemporary works too. So you see quite a variety of different exhibitions. Here's a poster for an exhibition in 2018, They're Not There, which was held in the gallery's main exhibition space, installation shot of it. And an exhibition more recently, which took place in the galleries of Somerset House, our neighbour. One of the students doing a gallery tour, explaining the work of Lubina Himid, a poster of that particular exhibition. Here's a list of past dissertation titles, quite a random list, but the idea, if you can read it, is just to give you a sense of the range and scope of titles over the years. Here's a student group on a study visit several years ago to Dresden, where we visited museums and galleries, met with curators and directors from various museums, had informal discussions with them, visited collections, visited exhibitions. And there's students on the occasion of the opening of their exhibition, looking very well dressed and very happy. There's the program schema again. I hope that gives you a sort of overview of the program, and we can, and I hope it'll prompt questions from you. Here's a list of the sorts of places, the sorts of jobs and different professional areas that curating graduates have gone on to. You'll see public museums and galleries in curatorial roles, but also in education, in collection management, in marketing and development, private commercial galleries, auction houses, universities, because some students do go on to do PhDs, either immediately, but more often after a few years, other arts organizations, art publishing, editors, art advisors, often independent, project management, and freelance curating and researching. So as I say, there's no single output, but there is a great range of areas which graduates go on to. And I would say over the years that looking back, and I keep good track of where graduates are, I would say about 85, 90% of the graduates over the 13, 14 years that the program has run have found, continue to find employment within the arts, museum, gallery sector, which is a very high proportion, I would say. There's just a range of again, a very random list from all over to show the sort of range of positions in which they go on to hold. In London, but also abroad. Curators in the public sphere and also the private sphere, and slightly more broadly than that. And there's just a list, an incomplete list of museums, galleries, and other organizations and institutions where currently or in recent years graduates from the program have gone, or still are indeed. The list goes on, it's very long. That's what I have to show here. I'm going to stop sharing now, and Taka, I think you're going to speak for a few minutes.
Yes, thank you, Martin. So I'm going to talk about applications here. So our applications are now open, and you can make your applications from our website. Deadline is 17th of January. For what you require to submit with your application, there's a guidance on our website. If you're not 100% sure, please do email me. Sorry, I forgot to actually introduce myself. My name is Takayuki Hara. I work in the admissions department. I mainly deal with postgraduate applications. When it comes to entry requirements, so our successful applicants have typically achieved a good 2-1 in their bachelor's degree, and that is normally 65%. For international applicants, it's normally GPA 3.5. Shortlisted applicants will be asked for an interview before offers are made. We do not make offers without having an interview for this program. As Martin said earlier, this is a different program to MA History of Art. So if you're interested in both programs, you can make 2 applications, or if you're interested in the conservation of easel paintings or like wall paintings, you can actually make 3 or 4. And they are different programs, so you can actually make as many as you like. If English is not your first language, we need proof of your English language proficiency. And we accept IELTS, Cambridge Advanced Test, and Cambridge Proficiency Test. Unfortunately, we do not accept any other tests. So just and then also, if you have studied, if you have gained a degree in majority English-speaking countries such as the UK or USA, you do not have to submit this English language test. Our fees are on the website at the moment, so you can actually refer to our fees there. When it comes to finance to support your tuition fees, for UK and some EU students, students on this program are eligible to apply for a MA loan from the student finance company. And we do also have Courtauld scholarships. Courtauld scholarships applications are not open yet. We would actually open them in the new year. And then regardless of your outcome, you can actually apply. Just to let you know, this is actually very competitive scholarships, and our sources are actually quite limited. So I would always recommend to have a backup plan and just do look for external scholarships as well as actually applying for this scholarship. Average scholarship we actually give is around £6,000. And these scholarships are actually made of little donations, and each donation have different sort of criteria that we can actually award to students. That this sort of getting an award, getting a scholarship doesn't actually mean you can actually pay fully for your tuition fees. So do expect to do research on other means for scholarships and funding your studies. If you'd like to visit our Vernon Square campus, we recently resumed our Vernon Square campus tours, and we'll be holding 2 campus tours a week until the Christmas break. And in the new year, we'll be hosting weekly Courtauld Gallery tours for prospective students, where you'll be exploring the highlights of our collection, as well as finding out about the benefits available to Courtauld students. We will add details in the chat box if you would like to sign up, or you can just Google Campus Tours Courtauld. This is it from me. I'm just gonna pass it back to Martin. Thank you.
Great. I mean, I'm sure we'll invoke you again quite soon, Taka, if there are questions coming up.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay. Yeah.
But I mean, I see some questions coming in, and I say please do keep them coming. If a question is in your mind, it's likely to be in the mind of others as well. So, and I'm sure others would be interested in the answer. So do keep them coming. I'm going to take them in the order that they're coming in to me. So let's begin right from the top. So I think there are a number of quite similar ones, but Chloe is asking, can you explain more about the public exhibition project? Do you choose what objects you want to work with, or are you assigned objects to use? Well, the first thing I'd say is that the exhibition project varies year on year, and we sometimes we're in the gallery, sometimes we're elsewhere. We can work with different collections, but no, the purpose of it is very much to face the students with a particular space, a particular context, and a large body of work, one collection or more collections. We sometimes set a brief, but it would be a very open brief. The idea is that really you confront the collections, you look at them, you find what you think of as of interest, and you devise the whole exhibition concept together yourselves. It's very much that you're guided to an extent, but we're not telling you in any way what to do. The whole purpose is that it is, a real curatorial exercise from start to finish. I mean, I hope that explains it. We're not assigning you anything. The next one, this is Nandipa, does the course cover the business management aspects of museum and galleries too? I think they are of relevance. We don't teach them directly. We're not having sessions, for example, on finance, but I think we are confronting the full reality of museums and galleries as they operate. So those issues will come up. We're not blind to the practicalities of of museums and galleries. These things may come up on placements to an extent, but we're not teaching finance or financial systems. Collections management obviously comes up in terms of the exhibition project, and may come up in various other ways too. Beatrice, am I right to assume, she asked, there is no part-time option? That is the case, I'm afraid, if that's something you're interested in. It is, as I say, it's a full and intense 12-month program, and the nature of the program, the types of exercise that are done through the year, the nature of the exhibition project, and indeed the placements mean that the program can't be tailored to a part-time delivery. I think there's a question about funding opportunities, which I think, Taka, you will have addressed.
I sort of covered the finances to support the tuition fees. So mainly it's MA loan and the Courtauld scholarships. So the Courtauld scholarships, anyone can apply regardless of your application outcome, and applications normally available probably in the new year, so probably like around February, and then we normally let applicants know before the acceptance deadline, which is 1st of April this year. So you will actually have that choice of the Courtauld scholarships.
Right. Let me go on with questions. They're coming thick and fast now, which is good. Nandeep asks, can you elaborate on the dissertation? Are you assigned a supervisor? Do you have to contact potential supervisors? What is the timeline like? Supervision is generally done either by me or one of my associates, colleagues who teach on the program. Very occasionally, we may seek a supervisor from elsewhere, but most of that is done in-house or within the program. And yes, so you don't have to seek your own. Are the places given on a first come, first served basis? I presume, or are the applications only weighted after the deadline?
Yeah.
I think the simple answer there is that no, there's, Taka, do you want to answer that? I think it's a
yeah. So we don't actually assess applications before the deadline, and we don't actually communicate any outcome before the deadline. So you can actually take your time. You can submit your applications on the deadline, which is 17th of January, or you can actually submit your application earlier. It doesn't actually make any difference.
No, those involved in the application process, principally me, won't have sight of them, won't be looking at them until the deadline is reached. would So Ella is asking, would you say the program is equally applicable to work in UK institutions and those abroad, particularly in the US? Well, that's a broad question. What I would say is that over the years, we've had a very large number of applicants from the States and indeed from Europe and other places. And each year we would tend to have, well, I don't know, 3, 4 maybe US students. They choose to come here, but I understand and I hear from them because they don't see a program quite like this in the States. That's not for me to say, but I mean, that's the perception that I get. And I would say that it is absolutely as applicable to the States. Of course, conditions vary, and we're not parochial in the way that we look at things. We work with London institutions, but our range of reference is much broader than that. And we look at institutions internationally through the course of the year. We refer to them very much, and I would say that graduates, whether they are from the US or here, many of them have found jobs in the States and in Europe, and vice versa. Americans sometimes stay here, or home students may find employment in the States as well. So it's totally international, and I think in every year I'm pleased to say that we have a very good balance of home students and international students from across the globe. It's important to me. It enriches the whole program, and as I say, you learn as much from your fellows, your colleagues, as you do from me and the other teachers. Let's keep going. How competitive is the entry annually? It has to be said, it's a very competitive program. It's a very popular program. I would hope that would encourage you to apply, not dissuade you in any way. What more can I say than that? Do you want to say anything more, Taka? I wouldn't.
No, I don't like that you say like the numbers.
I wouldn't focus on the number of people. No. I would just think, how much do you want to do it, and what effort will you put into being one of those who reaches the program? I would say that we do cap the number at 12, because 12 is considered to be the right number for a good and active group. But it is important that that group act and work together. So, and the Courtauld, as you know, believes in small group teaching, and we believe that the number 12 constitutes a small group. It can seem quite a large group at times, particularly when you're engaged in curatorial discussions and batting backwards and forwards your individual concepts. But it works very well as a group in all the learning situations that we put you in for. Now, where are we going? Hang on, I've just lost my place.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So there's a question about if the program is open to mid-career candidates.
Hang on, I'm just finding my message.
Yeah.
The program is open to anyone. I would say that it's not a program designed for those who have already begun a career in museums or galleries. I mean, it is for people coming fresh to the sector. That said, we have had more mature students on the program. We look at all applicants equally in that respect. Well, here's a good question. I was wondering what Charis is saying. I was wondering what you are looking for in an applicant. What am I looking for? What are we looking for? We're looking obviously for intelligence, accomplishments to date, evidence of a strong interest in the field, in curating, in art, whether this interest has been long-standing or is more recent. And I would say that those who come from other disciplines may have been focusing on art history for less time, but with equal engagement and with equal enthusiasm. Some of the people who, as it were, make a transition from another discipline are among the most motivated, the most commitment. They've had a sort of moment, a light bulb moment that has encouraged them to apply for this. I'm looking for energy, zeal, commitment. these sound like cliches, but they're all real. And really, I'm looking for an openness. I look for applicants who I think would really benefit from the program, who are open to the sort of teaching that we do, and are clearly demonstrating that they are keen to learn. But I mean, I have to really stress that ambition and energy and commitment are incredibly important in curating. It's a tough world. There are a lot of people out there who want to do it. It can be hard work. All those things, I think, but an openness. I want people really to come with their own interest and specialities, but also really be open to considering things right across the board. If they're a diehard contemporary, I want them to be just as fascinated in a display of medieval altarpieces, for example, and think, well, what can this mean to me? How does this work? How do I put things together? How do I make connections across areas of practice, across time, and so on? So, I mean, I don't know whether that's a woolly answer, but I mean, those are some of the things that I think I would be looking for. Do students under the EU settlement scheme come under the home or international tuition fees?
So that's funny. So it's actually not as easy to actually say yes or no. So we've got a page dedicated for EU students or anybody who's actually wondering what their fee status is on our website. It does actually say home or international, and you can actually see all the criteria there. In sort of generally speaking, if you lived in the UK and if you received the EU settlement status, which is pre-settled or settled status in the UK, and we normally regard them as a home student. But then it really depends on the residency and stuff like that. So it's really hard to actually say without actually seeing your application.
So. Great. I've got another question here. Are the majority of your students immediately out of undergraduate, or would you say you have a number of students each year who have been out of school and working for a number of years? Well, as I said before, we're not really aimed at those who have been out in the gallery and museum sector who want a sort of refresher. But I would say about half of the intake would be coming directly from graduating, but others may have been out for 1, 2, even 3 years, doing a variety of things. Generally, yeah, I think I would say that. Sometimes they've been doing placements or some sort of work within the museum and gallery sector, but they wouldn't have really launched in a professional career. I think it's quite often those who had a year or two out come with a range of rich experience, which really helped the group. But there are no expectations there. Would interests in textile and fashion be covered during the course? I mean, it's an interesting question. It has that raises broader issues about, there are all sorts of fields, architecture, for example, film, video in different areas. I would say not specifically. I mean, the program is called Curating the Art Museum. Textiles, of course, can be art. And it's possible that a placement could involve working with textiles or fashion, but it's not something that we would cover particularly. I think it wouldn't be a particular focus of the program. It hasn't been to date. Could you speak about what your personal statements of applications? What are we looking for in a personal statement? I would say overall, we're looking for clarity of expression. I mean, if you can articulate well what your strengths are, what your interests are, why you want to why you're hoping to be on this course. So we look at the form of the way you write. I think we would also be looking for evidence, evidence of interest. So obviously, if you've had experience, if you've been lucky enough to find experience within museums and galleries, you would write about that. But really, I think I'm hoping from those applications, and I read very many of them, to really get an idea of where you're coming from and where you're hoping to go to, the nature of your interests. having read so many, one gets quite used to quite formulaic expressions. Please don't go to any how-to books. How to write a standard application letter, because I see through those immediately. When you read as many as I do, you know what's sincere and what is just formulaic or cliche. Give me an idea of what your interests are, how you've progressed them to date, what you hope to do, what you understand by curating, the sorts of things that fire you, that interest you. Make them interesting for me to read. And give me a sense of who you are and what you're looking for, I think. Does the written work submitted for the application need to be art related? If you've got something which you're proud of that is art related, it's probably better. But if you've got if you feel your strongest writing is somewhere else, you are free to submit that. Obviously, it makes more sense if it's art related. It's easier to gauge it in that way. But I read quite a lot of pieces of writing which are in other fields, be it literary, be it historical, whatever. And I think we can form a good opinion from that, even if it's not in the art historical field. It may be you want to submit to one art historical and one not. I'm not encouraging you to double what you send in, but on occasion we get two shorter pieces, one of which is more within the field and one somewhat outside it. But we're not looking to set up fences or bars here. We're looking to see your best writing, if you like. Is it essential to live in London for this course? I think it would be quite difficult not to. I mean, occasionally people commute in from outside, but it is a course which is taught on the ground, in the field, in the institute, but elsewhere in London. I think only you would know how you could how easy it would be for you to attend. But full days, whether in placements or teaching, happen in London. And yeah, I think it would make most sense to be there. Would most of the teaching take place in Vernon Square? Well, as I say, it's in-house and out-of-house. It may be around the virtual display exercises, for example, happen within museums and galleries who are working with us. Visits to museums and galleries across London and sometimes outside take place as well. But the majority of the taught sessions would be in Vernon Square, yes. What's the weekly schedule like? Our classes held daily, 1 to 2 hour sessions. Yes, our sessions are almost all 2 hour sessions. They tend to happen on 3 days of the week, usually Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but that might change. And you could have a 2 hour session in the morning, 2 hour in the afternoon. You would tend to have between around 4 2 hour sessions in the week together, but that doesn't mean there's only 8 hours work, because there is work between sessions as well. It can rise to 10 hours on occasion. And the teaching is around those days, partly because I work 4 days a week myself, but also to allow space for the placements to take place. When the placements come on stream in November, December, they happen on the other days. So you would be looking to be working a full 5 days a week in whatever capacity, whether you're writing on your own or doing placements or doing exercises or attending seminars in the institute itself. Does the course cover digital innovation, technology aspects applied in museums and galleries? Answer: yes. I mean, it is about the museum and gallery now, and to the extent that digital initiatives, innovation happen, yes, we certainly do cover that. What are you looking for in the idea? Well, I think I've done that one before. English speakers, do we require any foreign language reading comprehension? It's not specifically. I think if you're doing an art history program or course in in a particular national area, that might be expected. But on this program, no. Many students come with more than one language, and that's always useful. But it's not an obligatory part of the program, no. Here's a question, Taka, I think for you. Will applying for Courtauld scholarship influence the admission result, or are the applications being reviewed independently?
They are separate, so it doesn't. Sorry, just a second. It doesn't actually influence your admissions result at all.
What's the interview process like? I'd like to say grueling, but it's not at all. I mean, they're friendly, and they're friendly interviews. Certainly with me, and on occasion when, which I particularly appreciate, with a colleague. So it would be one or two people talking for maybe 25 minutes, either in person or via Zoom, either way. So they're quite fast and furious, and but they're informal conversation. We're not giving you a set of questions. We're not setting you exercise at all. It's conversation. We're talking to you. We're getting to know more what your motivations are and your interests. Technical question about language tests and shall I read it for you, Taka? I'm an international student. I've got a slot on 2nd of January for my IELTS exam. Will I be able to apply without my results?
Yes, of course you can. And then if that is the only outstanding thing, when we actually make an offer, if your application is successful, your offer is going to be conditional offer, and that would be just the IELTS sort of outstanding. Of course, you can actually apply without having an IELTS test at the time of your submission.
And I've got a question here. Since the program mostly works with London institutions, will there be opportunities to work with non-Western artworks and artists as well? Yes, we certainly do profit from working with institutions which are around us. Those institutions are many and various. The National Gallery, from the National Gallery to Tate Modern to the Hayward or wherever. There's absolutely, we work with what we've got, and in many cases that is non-Western work. For example, the students some of the students at the moment are working at the National Gallery on their virtual display exercise. They're reintegrating post-1800 Spanish works into various spaces in the gallery. The other half are working at Tate Modern, and they're working with South African video, contemporary South African video. Places like Tate Modern are incredibly global, and the exhibition programs of many of the galleries around London are equally global. This is an international program. Contemporary art particularly, but all art is international. We don't have any barriers in that way at all. We look across the board. There's a question here, Taka. Have you ever had any Chevening scholarship students?
Not for this program, but we actually, this year we have a Chevening scholar studying history of art. So you can actually apply for Chevening if you like to.
I'm just scrolling back through to see if there's anything else that we haven't covered.
Oh, there was a question about virtual campus tours. Apparently, we do have recording, but we filmed one during the pandemic, so it does actually look quite different. But if you still actually want to see the recording of the virtual open tour or campus tour, so if you can actually make it, you can contact our marketing department, which is marketing@courtauld.ac.uk. Sorry, I think I missed that from questions. We might have actually skipped a couple of questions earlier. Just a second. I think this one about a placement. Is the placement guaranteed as part of the program? Is it up to the individual to secure this, or can the Courtauld assist with this? Martin.
We identify placement opportunities and we basically, yes, we find the opportunities. So to that extent, it is guaranteed. It's an integral part of the program. You have to do a placement. You have to satisfactorily do a placement in order to graduate. So it is the commitment of the institute that we do find those opportunities for you. That principally it comes down to me, and I renegotiate. I relook and talk with colleagues across the sector in London every year. So they do vary a lot. I also take into account, to an extent, the interests, the expressed interests of the students who have been accepted on the program. But I would stress, in the end, and I talk to students when they come to get an idea of their interest, but in the end, it is I who have the final say in allocating those placements across the board. For a variety of reasons, I try and I exercise my discretion and think where would people get most benefit, but also I need to look at the opportunities which are there and the students who are on the program, and just really affect the best distribution of those placements. I should say, yeah, obviously we try and play to your interests. Some people who come say, I'm wide open, I have any interest. Others might feel that they are more specific in their interest. I would say that we find really good learning experiences for everyone. There is absolutely no guarantee that those learning experiences exactly correlate to what students think their principal interests are. These are real world experiences. You're not tourists going out on placements, and you know, we work with what we've got. It changes every year, but I would say they are all interested. But again, this comes down to what I've been saying all the time. You need to be open in your interest and really make the most of whatever learning experience you have on offer. It's about transferability. It's about, you know, looking at the reality that you experience against what you think it is you want to do. But you know, if you say, for example, I'm really interested in Chinese photography from 1980 to 2000, I'd like a placement in a museum working on that. The answer will probably be no. You know, we don't have that option at the moment. But I would say that, you know, all placements are fascinating. They all work with very strong, committed mentors, and they vary enormously one to another. But they are all good, rich experiences, and the students on those individual experiences bring a great range of different issues to the group discussion. Some new messages. Let's go down here. How many essays will we write during the course? You will write 2 essays, one in the first semester, one in the second semester, of 4,000 words, and then the dissertation of 10,000 words. You will also do various more informal presentations along the way for language and interpretation and the virtual display, but they're not written coursework, I'd say. Here's a question I'm not really understanding. Do you think any books to recommend to understand Courtauld's identity, including courses objectives in advance? Well, there are many books you can read. There's nothing specific to this course, but the literature on curating and curatorial studies is enormous. With the successful applicants, we do give them a summer reading list, but I wouldn't specifically mention any particular titles now. I think it's possible we could put some on the website if people wanted to get a better idea. What's the difference between a degree in museum studies and this program? Well, I can't speak for all museum studies courses, and I'm sure there is a degree of overlap. I mean, an evident difference here is that we are working with the art museum. We interpret the definition of art museum quite broadly. You might think that a museum would necessarily have a collection. We also work with galleries without collections. Sometimes we work with other arts organizations for example, the Contemporary Art Society or the Arts Council collection that aren't galleries in themselves, but art is a specific focus. Museum studies is slightly broader than that, I would say.
I think
we've covered a good range of questions, and I've done this before, and I think the sorts of questions that you're asking are very good questions, and I hope I've answered them as well as I can. I would just stress at the moment that this program, it works within the Institute, but it works very broadly outside it. It is a responsive program. It works with colleagues, collaborators across the sector. It's dealing with issues that come up year on year. They're very different. The world out there is changing all the time. The program itself is likely to change with circumstance, with what's interesting, picking up on opportunities along the way. The last few years have been, as you all very well know, very particular years. For example, last year we worked, the group exhibition was an online exhibition because it wasn't possible to work in a physical space at that time. Again, that reflects the realities of the field. Online exhibitions became a norm right across the world, and I think students developed very interesting specialisms in that. In fact, a number of students who worked on an online exhibition project credited the employment they got afterwards, particularly on the experience that they were able to show at interview in that particular area. And I mean, I'm not making a point about digital and online here, but just to say that the program is responsive. It needs to be responsive in order to stay fit for purpose. And the museum and gallery world is changing as never before. We're experiencing this year a hybrid working practices across the board, and in placements they will work as curators are doing in institutions. They will also work in a hybrid way. Who knows what the future will hold? But as I say, the program, although it's structured, it remains broadly similar. The nature, the content of what you're doing, the people you're meeting, the works you're looking at, the institutions you're going to, the places, the collections you're working with, the spaces you may be, making exhibitions in, change all the time. That's part of the beauty and interest in the program, and I hope its continued relevance. Great. I think I think we should probably wind up there, Tak. Would you agree,
yeah.
Sajid?
Yeah.
Sajid, do you want to make any further comment?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
That's great. Well, as I say, I'm talking to a lot of you live. There will be others of you who listen to the recording of this afterwards. I hope you've got a really good idea of how this program works, and that you will be encouraged to apply. I look forward to seeing some of you, I hope, at interview next spring. Thank you all for listening, for sticking with us. Thank you, Taka. Thank you, Sajid, also for joining me. And the best of luck to you all. Goodbye now.